Hi, I'm Maeve, and this is the story of how my grandfather's final wish nearly cost me everything, and how I made sure the person who tried to destroy me paid for it. Maeve, sweetheart, come closer, Grandpa William whispered from his hospital bed, his weathered hand reaching for mine. I leaned in, fighting back tears. I'm here, Grandpa. There's something I need you to do for me, he said, his voice barely audible. Next Tuesday at noon, go to the corner of 5th and Madison. Stand there for exactly 10 minutes. Don't ask why, just trust me. That's oddly specific, I replied, confused. What's at 5th and Madison? A memory, he smiled weakly. The spot where I proposed to your grandmother 50 years ago. I want you to honor that moment. Promise me. I promise, Grandpa. Of course I will. He squeezed my hand. And Maeve? Everything I have, the estate, the business, the accounts, it's all yours. Your Uncle Richard gets nothing. He knows this. Be careful. 3 days later, Grandpa passed away. The funeral was tense. Uncle Richard barely looked at me, his jaw clenched throughout the entire service. Maeve, we need to talk about the will. Richard approached me afterward, his voice cold. The lawyer said everything straightforward, I replied. Grandpa left clear instructions. We'll see about that, he muttered, walking away. The following Tuesday, I stood at 5th and Madison at exactly noon, holding a photo of my grandparents. I felt silly standing there, but I'd promised. I closed my eyes, thinking about their love story. 10 minutes later, I left, unaware that my entire life was about to implode. 2 days later, my phone exploded with notifications. My brother Jake called, frantic. Maeve, have you seen what's online? He asked urgently. What are you talking about? There's a video of you standing on a street corner, talking to yourself, looking completely out of it. It's everywhere. The caption says you're mentally unstable. My blood ran cold. What? Uncle Richard posted it. He's claiming you're incompetent to manage Grandpa's estate. He's filing for guardianship. I watched the video in horror. Someone had edited it to make me look unhinged, removing context, adding ominous music, zooming in on my closed eyes and moving lips as I'd whispered a prayer for my grandparents. The next morning, Richard's lawyer served me papers. Ms. Maeve, I'm here to deliver notice of competency proceedings, the process server said. Your uncle is petitioning the court to declare you mentally unfit. This is insane, I shouted. That afternoon, I sat across from Richard in the lawyer's office. Richard, what are you doing? I demanded. He smirked. Protecting the family assets from someone clearly unstable. That video speaks for itself. You filmed me. You set this up. I filmed someone exhibiting concerning behavior in public, he said smoothly. The court will see you're not capable of managing a multi-million-dollar estate. Grandpa wanted me to be there. It was his dying wish. Prove it. Richard leaned back confidently. There's nothing in writing, just a crazy girl talking to ghosts on a street corner. You bastard, I whispered. I'll take good care of the estate, he smiled. Someone has to. I left that meeting shaking with rage, but I wasn't going to let him win. I was going to make Richard regret the day he decided to betray me. I called Jake immediately after leaving Richard's office. I need help, I said, my voice trembling. Richard's trying to steal everything. I'm coming over right now, Jake replied, and I'm bringing Mom. An hour later, we sat in my living room strategizing. This is fraud, my mother said firmly. Pure manipulation. But how do we prove it? I asked desperately. Jake pulled out his laptop. First, we need a lawyer who specializes in estate disputes, and we need to find out exactly how Richard got that video. I called Jennifer Chen, the estate attorney Grandpa had recommended years ago. Ms. Chen, I need your help urgently, I explained the situation. Come to my office tomorrow morning, she responded. Bring everything, the will, Grandpa's medical records, any communications with Richard. Can he really take everything? I asked. Not if we prove this was a calculated setup. Did your grandfather document his dying wishes anywhere? Just verbally to me. Then we need to establish a pattern of Richard's predatory behavior and prove he manipulated the situation. The next morning, I sat in Jennifer's office with Jake and my mother. Maeve, tell me everything your grandfather said, Jennifer began, taking notes. I recounted the hospital conversation word for word. And Richard knew about the street corner visit? She asked. He must have, I replied. How else would he know to be there filming? That's our angle, Jennifer said. We need to prove prior knowledge and premeditation, Jake interrupted. I've been digging into Richard's finances. He's drowning in debt. Gambling losses, bad investments. He's desperate. Perfect, Jennifer smiled. Motive established. Now, who else was at the hospital when your grandfather gave you those instructions? Just me, I said, defeated. Wait, the nurse. Nurse Patterson was checking vitals. She might have heard. Find her, Jennifer instructed. We need her testimony. I tracked down Nurse Patterson within 2 days. Ms. Maeve, I remember your grandfather, she said warmly. Such a sweet man. Were you in the room when he gave me specific instructions about 5th and Madison? Yes. I thought it was romantic. He was so insistent about you going there at noon on Tuesday. Would you testify to that? Absolutely. Jennifer also hired a private investigator named Marcus Webb. Mr. Webb, I need you to find out everything about how that video was made, I explained. 3 days later, Marcus called with gold. Maeve, your uncle hired a production company called Viewpoint Media to document you. I have their invoices, dated 2 days before you went to that corner. He planned this before Grandpa even died? The invoice says surveillance and editing services. He paid them $5,000. Jennifer assembled our team. Here's our strategy. We file a counter-petition exposing Richard's fraud. We prove he had foreknowledge, motive, and premeditated this entire scheme. We get the video declared inadmissible as fraudulent evidence. What are his chances? I asked nervously. Against our evidence? 0. But we need to move fast. The competency hearing is in 2 weeks. Jake discovered more damaging information. Richard's been calling Grandpa's old business partners, telling them you're incompetent and he'll be taking over management. He's counting his chickens before they hatch, my mother said angrily. Let him, Jennifer smiled. It shows consciousness of guilt and premature confidence. We'll use it all against him. I spent the next week gathering evidence, preparing testimony, and documenting every communication with Richard. The night before our counterfiling, Jennifer called. Maeve, I need you prepared for tomorrow. We're going nuclear. We're not just defending, we're going on offense. Richard committed fraud, defamation, and elder exploitation by manipulating your grandfather's dying wishes. I'm ready, I said firmly. Let's destroy him. The courtroom was packed. Richard sat smugly with his lawyer, clearly expecting an easy victory. Judge Morrison called the hearing to order. We're here regarding the petition for guardianship filed by Richard Sullivan against Maeve Sullivan. Richard's lawyer stood. Your Honor, our evidence clearly shows Miss Sullivan exhibiting erratic behavior, making her unfit to manage substantial assets. Jennifer rose as confidently. Your Honor, we're filing a counter motion to dismiss with prejudice, along with criminal complaints for fraud, defamation, and conspiracy. Richard's face went pale. Ms. Chen, those are serious allegations, the judge said. With serious evidence, Your Honor. May I call my first witness? Nurse Patterson took the stand. Miss Patterson, were you present when William Sullivan gave instructions to his granddaughter on September 15th? Jennifer asked. Yes. He specifically asked Maeve to go to 5th and Madison at noon the following Tuesday. He said it was where he proposed to his wife. It was very touching. Did Maeve seem confused or resistant? Not at all. She was honoring her grandfather's romantic gesture. Richard's lawyer tried to object, but Jennifer continued. Your Honor, Mr. Sullivan hired Viewpoint Media to film his niece, but here's the key evidence. He contracted them 2 days before William Sullivan died, before Maeve even knew about the street corner visit. She presented the invoice, and the courtroom erupted in murmurs. How did Richard know where she'd be, unless he overheard the private conversation and planned to exploit it? Jennifer continued. This is absurd, Richard shouted, standing up. Sit down, Mr. Sullivan, Judge Morrison ordered. Jennifer called Marcus Webb next. Mr. Webb, what did your investigation reveal? Richard Sullivan paid Viewpoint Media $5,000 for surveillance and malicious editing. Their own notes say, make subject appear unstable. I have the emails. Objection, Richard's lawyer stammered. This is... Overruled. Continue, Mr. Webb. Richard also contacted 12 of William Sullivan's business associates, telling them he'd be taking over because Maeve was incompetent. This was before any court proceedings. Jennifer turned to Richard. Would you like to explain why you were so confident about the outcome, Mr. Sullivan? Richard's lawyer grabbed his arm. Don't answer that. But Richard was unraveling. She didn't deserve it. I worked for my father for 30 years, and he left everything to her. So you admit this was about the inheritance, not genuine concern? Jennifer pressed. Your Honor, I need to confer with my client, Richard's lawyer said desperately. I think we've heard enough, Judge Morrison said coldly. Ms. Chen, you mentioned criminal complaints? Yes, Your Honor. We're filing charges for fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, defamation, and elder exploitation. Richard manipulated a dying man's final wishes to steal from his intended heir. The judge looked at Richard with disgust. Mr. Sullivan, I'm denying your petition and holding you in contempt. I'm also referring this matter to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation. 2 court officers approached Richard. Wait, what's happening? Richard panicked. Detective Sarah Brooks stepped forward. Mr. Sullivan, I'm placing you under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and defamation. You have the right to remain silent. This is insane! Maeve, please! Richard begged as they handcuffed him. You should have thought about that before you tried to destroy me, I said coldly. His lawyer looked at Jennifer. Perhaps we can work something out? There's nothing to work out, Jennifer replied. Your client committed multiple felonies. He's facing prison time. As they led Richard away, he kept shouting, I'm sorry. I was desperate. Please. I watched him go, feeling nothing but satisfaction. He'd gambled everything on destroying me, and now he'd lost it all. 3 months later, I sat in the same courtroom for Richard's sentencing. The prosecutor presented overwhelming evidence. Your Honor, Richard Sullivan orchestrated an elaborate fraud to steal his niece's $7 million inheritance. He exploited his dying brother's final romantic gesture, hired professionals to create fraudulent evidence, and attempted to destroy Miss Sullivan's reputation and mental health. Richard's new lawyer tried damage control. My client was under financial stress and made terrible decisions. He's deeply remorseful. Mr. Sullivan, do you have anything to say? Judge Morrison asked. Richard stood shakily. Maeve, I'm so sorry. I was drowning in debt. I wasn't thinking clearly. Please, can you forgive me? We're family. I stood up from the gallery. Your Honor, may I address the court? Proceed, Miss Sullivan. I looked directly at Richard. You didn't just try to steal money. You tried to make me think I was crazy. You exploited Grandpa's death. You weaponized his love story. There's no forgiveness for that. I want him to face the maximum penalty. Thank you, Miss Sullivan, the judge said. Mr. Sullivan, You committed calculated, predatory fraud against your own family member. I'm sentencing you to 5 years in prison, full restitution of all legal fees to Miss Sullivan, and a permanent restraining order." Richard collapsed into his chair, sobbing. I felt nothing but relief. Jennifer hugged me outside the courtroom. "It's over. You won." "Thank you for believing me," I said. "You fought smart, not just hard," she smiled. The investigator Marcus found additional evidence that cleared my name completely. The defamatory video was scrubbed from the internet, replaced with news articles about Richard's fraud conviction. I took over Grandpa's business, honoring his legacy properly. Every decision I made, I asked myself what he would do. Jake called me a week after the sentencing. "Maeve, how are you holding up?" "Honestly, I'm good. Really good. Grandpa wanted me to have this life, and I'm not going to waste it." "He'd be proud of you," Jake said. "You could have backed down, settled, let Richard have something." "That's exactly what he counted on," I replied. "He thought I'd be too scared or too nice to fight back. He was wrong." My mother came over that evening. "Sweetheart, I know Richard reached out asking for clemency," she said gently. "I got his letter. I threw it away." "Do you feel guilty at all?" "Not even a little. He made his choices. I just made sure he faced the consequences." She hugged me. "Good. Some people mistake kindness for weakness. You taught him the difference." 6 months after Richard's conviction, I stood at 5th and Madison again, this time by choice. I placed flowers on the exact spot where Grandpa proposed to Grandma. "I kept my promise, Grandpa," I whispered, "and I kept everything safe." I learned something important through this nightmare. Justice isn't revenge. Revenge is emotional and chaotic. Justice is strategic, legal, and permanent. Richard wanted to destroy me out of greed. I destroyed his scheme out of principle. I didn't just win. I made sure he could never hurt anyone else this way again. People ask me if I regret being so harsh, pursuing criminal charges, refusing his apology. The answer is always no. He didn't regret trying to ruin me. He only regretted getting caught. I reclaimed everything he tried to steal: my inheritance, my reputation, my peace of mind, and my dignity. The estate is thriving. Grandpa's legacy lives on, and Richard is exactly where he belongs. Have you ever had someone exploit your family's trust to steal from you? Would you have accepted their apology? Or would you have done what I did? Like and subscribe for more stories about people who refused to be victims and fought back the right way.